We learned today that Priti Patel intends to give more money to France. I think that is both laughable and scandalous and absurd. Utterly, utterly absurd and desperate. Last year, she gave two bunches of money to. Do you have bunches of money? I don't know whether you do. Well, two huge cases of money to France. I think it was 54 million about this time last year, and then 28 million in November. And she still wants to give them more. She calls it an essential deal. Well, I mean, it's only an essential deal because she's giving good money after bad. It isn't having any reasonable effect, like the Rwanda thing, which was also a pile of money. Why does she do it? Because she hasn't got control over what she's doing. Now, she says that just over 13,000 migrants have been deterred from crossing the channel since the deal began. So that's over a year ago. And she also says there's been 500 arrests. I dispute some of these figures, I must say. I think they seem a little bit high and a little bit vague as well. But because there's still a huge number of migrants coming across the channel. Yesterday, there was the greatest number that we've ever had, 696, I think, which is up on the previous record, which was in April of 651. So these are being added to the 17,000 who have already crossed the channel and are in the UK and awaiting processing. Now, the figures awaiting processing are simply mind-boggling. So no matter how much Priti Patel tries threatening to send people across to Rwanda, those huge numbers of people asking for asylum will still be here. So the only way to solve this is to acquire more staff in the Home Office and to start getting that backlog of numbers down. We should be processing an asylum application in a matter of days or weeks, but instead we're doing it in a matter of, well, years. And that's wrong. That's wrong. If we are ever to get that figure down, if we were ever to give these people a home and a future, either in this country or outside this country, then we need to deal with those figures. And if we don't, we're just wasting our time and our money. And desperate people will always be desperate. And the threat of going to Rwanda, actually, if you look at the figures, has actually increased the number of crossings rather than decreased them. So that threat is futile and useless. And increasing that threat, I presume, will further drive up those numbers. There are only, I think, two solutions. I've been repeating them endlessly, and they should be lumped together. So the first is to increase the number of Home Office staff to process the huge backlog and reduce the numbers of people applying for asylum in the UK, and also clarify who has been granted asylum, who might be granted asylum, and who definitely doesn't get asylum and therefore should be thrown out of the country. And number two, we need to set up, because Tom Tugendhat had an idea about that. He was saying that we need to do things in Libya and so on. Yes, actually what we need to do is set up clear asylum centres outside the UK that can reasonably be accessed by people who want asylum here, and that can provide and demonstrably achieve in a very short space of time a processing of applications. That alone will render the smuggling redundant. If smugglers can see, and if potential asylum seekers can see that there is a quick and reliable way to acquire asylum in the UK by going to one of these asylum centres, maybe in a friendly third country, then smugglers are unnecessary. It's not rocket science, it's basic economics. It makes sound sense, And that is something which is demonstrably lacking in this government, which thinks bullying and threatening will get results. I wonder where Priti Patel got that fatuous idea and favoured that approach. It's extraordinary. Anyway, with any luck, this is probably one of her last actions.